people. Remember, no rushing.
I'm reloaded, my paintball swollen, the nigga can't fold it. I got him like, got him rolling, the kush on the way, and the champagne frozen.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
Patron on my shirt, and the sip ain't shit, I need a quarter beer perk. Let's go!
What's up, lads? Welcome back to Large Lads episode 33 for the most returning show of all time with your host, Max Sheether, and first-time guest, Sam Sheether.
Also acknowledging my sick send to Dagestan 2 to 3 years and forget no mustache beard. I was shaving my head the other day. I was like, oh, Kirsten, what if I... and then I did it, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm committed now.
We now have perfectly mixed-matching facial hair.
At least Ankalaev won, so I looked like I predicted it.
Oh, that would have been bad if you just got
Actually, this is going up
slapped.
after. Like, bandwagon fanning. I actually did it afterward.
Yeah.
Now suddenly I like Ankalaev.
Sam would have had a Pajeda tattoo if he had won.
That was a fucking snoozer.
So I forgot to write any questions. I have 3, and then we're going to wing the rest of the episode. So
Let's
get
go.
ready for maybe the best episode of Large Lads yet.
Usually when we come in with no plan, it's terrible, and we default into like really boring, like mechanistic explanations of like programming. But I'm just gonna be really rowdy.
Okay, Sam's coming out swinging.
Be really provocative, like you're supposed to be on podcasts.
All right. I'll start with my most provocative. My other 2 are boring questions, but we'll start with
let's go.
What are your...
Hold that a little closer to your face.
what are
That was the first. Kirsten was watching. Kirsten, our editor, was watching it, and she's like, "Holy fuck, Max! It's like you can't hear him."
I'll just talk really loud to account for it. I'll just yell.
I know it's gonna pick up on my mic, and then it's gonna be fucking cooked.
You're perfect. What are some things you like, and more importantly, dislike about the lifting community?
Fuck them. They're all pussies.
I'll say a positive thing first.
Yeah,
we'll go back and forth.
I need to actually think of an answer. Yeah.
I feel like every meet I've been to, people go ape for everyone. I've always liked that part of like any really lifting competition I've gone to. People are very generally insanely supportive.
Yeah, kind of. I've always felt it was like a mixed bag. You know, like the audience has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, they don't know what's impressive, so there's.
Well, I think it's down to the fucking the announcer guy.
Yeah, that's true.
Like if the announcer guy isn't taking the initiative to tell people they should be cheering, nobody does. And I've been to like a meet or two where the MC didn't mention like, come on guys, let's cheer for them on their max lift.
You know what they love? They love a grinder. The audience always loves a grinder.
They do love
I've never heard a meet get louder than like
a 10-second
70-year-old
deadlift.
woman just fucking sitting there grinding out a bench.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a mixed bag. Like it can get a little clicky, you know? Like powerlifting can get really clicky.
Yeah.
Strongman can get really clicky. You know, people get like weirdly competitive at a local level, which is really lame sometimes.
That is always very funny. I always think it's endearing when it's just like a teenage dude who thinks he's like...
mean mugging you.
Yeah.
Shout out to that guy.
I've definitely had a handful of people trying to like intimidate me at meets.
Big dog,
That's always so fucking
Max gets
funny.
big dogged at every single meet he goes to. Someone in the warm-up room is like, yeah, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm actually going for the Teen 1 state record.
It's also funny because I warm up I feel like lame-like in the warm-up room. Because remember, I took like 600 as my last warm-up for one of my meets, and I had like 4 people be like, oh yeah, you're all right. And then I outpulled all of them because I didn't open at 98%.
Well, we also take big-ass jumps.
True,
like
yeah.
excessively big jumps.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Where it's like, and that's kind of like a heavyweight lifter meta is like the jump sizes for big boys.
Yeah.
Whereas like you see closer clusters of attempts for lighter guys. The lifting community. I don't know. Like I feel like you can get sucked into like online and like the algorithm promoting shit that's annoying and think it's bad. And I think people get like sold on this like really like rose tinted glasses version of it early on, like whatever era that is, whether it's like the raw we're hardcore Viking weirdos one or like whatever rose tinted glasses version of it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I think it's like any other hobby. There are people that are dickheads. There are people it's cliquey, but it's also a way to meet people that are also cool because there's a bunch of cool people that do it too.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much I look at that I'm like, this is unique to the strength training community. You know, like there's people that are willing to fuck up their lives for other hobbies as well. Like,
You know, I think has been an unexpected benefit of lifting weights.
I just realized that's such a fucking lame answer. I feel like it's objectively right, but man, that does make for a good podcast. Be like, well, objectively, it's probably not any fundamentally different than any other activity. Fuck. Shut up, pussy. Shut up. I'm gonna up my provocativeness.
I would be so rowdy. I want to come up with some
I'm gonna
awesome
be more
swinging
provocative.
takes. I was gonna say one of the I feel like the cool things about lifting is I feel like no matter like you could put me in a gym and I'll probably have a gym buddy within the first like 2 weeks.
That's not true.
What do you mean?
You are a lying piece of shit.
Well, how so?
You have gone so long at multiple. I've watched you not have gym buddies at gyms for so long.
When I say gym buddies, I'm not saying like a fucking pal I'm going
That you
to eat
talk
with.
so many of you that you even talk to.
Yeah, what gym?
What?
What gym?
You've had periods at our current gym where you didn't speak to anyone
I've
for
always
months.
known people at our gym.
Everybody thinks you hate them.
I do. This is insane. This is absolutely not true.
Max got justifiably annoyed that his workout qualities were suffering when he was talking to people. So he's like, well, I really care about my outcome in training. So he has now looks like the angriest man in the world when he's working out.
This
and
is-
doesn't
this is
speak. He does-
slanderous.
Anybody that goes to our gym is going to vouch for me
This
in
is
the comments.
absolutely slanderous.
Henry, come vouch for me. He never talks to anybody. Adam, come to, he just literally just like looks pissed off so people don't talk to him. So his work, that's fair. It's good. But you being like, yeah, I get, you know, any gym I go to. I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? You just happen to have Jasper at DOP.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's not been like a gym that I've like not felt like I like know people.
No people is different though.
I mean, like-
I'm
like-
just saying when you say gym buddy, what everybody else thinks is someone like you're yapping it up with, that you're
Well,
like friends with.
I guess if I wanted to do that, I probably could. Like,
No, I don't disagree with that.
there's a part of like lifting that like it's like you said it's just similar to all other communities, but it's like there's like a shared common language that you learn, and also like being proficient at something, it just like works and like as like an opener for people is like you ask someone for a spot, you ask them how their workout's going, and it seems very very easy to like from there just be like buddies with somebody at the gym. I wouldn't say
Kinda.
I'm like fucking making my best friends every day.
Yeah, kind of. But like, I don't know. You and I run into the frustration of like, man, it's rare to run into people that take this like seriously.
Yeah, I guess.
Or, and not even like, you have to fucking be a big fat guy or you have to do this, you have to do this. But it's just like, man, the number of people I talk to at the gym that are completely disinterested with like why their training isn't going well. And I'm like, hey, you're regularly overshooting. Hey, your execution on your system. And they just kind of like glaze over in the eyes. And like they don't think that stuff is interesting. Maybe this is just me being a special interest autist and like struggling to like talk to people that don't share my weird special interest. But it is like, it's interesting. Like, and that's why I like the YouTube, because it's like a conglomeration of people that are kind of that way. And they're just like, I finally get to hear someone who like really kind of thinks like Adam at the gym, right? The guy you met the other day.
Yeah.
He's like a person in real life that I know. Why are you looking at me like that?
What do you mean?
You look like some. You're
I'm glazed over. I'm the first
You're
one talking.
no, you're small smirking like I'm making a fool out of myself right now.
Truthfully, I was like,
God.
I was like, oh damn, this isn't gonna be a very good podcast.
No, it's gonna be good. I'm sick. I got no idea what's going on. I'm just gonna we're gonna bluster. We're gonna bluster ahead. Fuck it.
I was like, dude, should we just scrap this episode already?
No, it's good. It's good stuff. I don't know. I like when I meet people, I'm like, man, you do this every day. I'm surprised you aren't like, if you're gonna be here for fucking 2 hours every day, like I feel like you owe it to yourself to like try a little harder sometimes or care a little bit more about the mechanics of it. But I think so many people, it is more so than anything, that is their social outlet. Like they found like a community at the gym. They just like being around that community. And it's like, that's awesome. But I would think you should do both. I would think that you should like have that be your social outlet, but also like, man, I'm here. I may as well try to chug away and like put my best foot forward and get better.
There is, I feel like sometimes like a weird like safety element to like not fully committing to something though, where like they're willing to spend the time in the gym, but like I think they like maybe like subconsciously know that they're not trying their best. So like there is like some amount of like, oh, this isn't like my whole identity. Because then when it's going bad, they like aren't like their life isn't like falling apart.
So I see what you're saying. You're right. Like I see people like won't go all in implies something that I don't mean.
Yeah.
Like they won't like apply themselves.
Yeah.
That way, like if they come up short, it wasn't their fault. But that at the same time, almost that can't be the whole explanation because people get really frustrated by their lack of results. Like that's one that's like, I don't know. I guess I'm, it's going to come across in the podcast that I'm a little sick and I'm in a grumpy mood today. But like, I've never understood people who miss a lift and they're like very upset. It's like, where was that emotion when you were skipping your meals? Where was that emotion on your RPE 0 leg extensions? Like, it seems weird to care enough to be like very upset when you fail a PR attempt, but not care enough to put that effort in on the front end to get it. You know?
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of like a swing thing. Is like when people are like getting into powerlifting, they're trying to like try for goals, whether or not when they miss, they take it as like, oh dang, I need to like work huge to not do that, or it being like just demoralizing of like, well then what was the point of me going at all if I was just gonna fail anyways?
When you just come up with some worldview by it's impossible for you to get stronger. It's like, no, you missed a lot of low-hanging fruit, right? Like that's coaching, right? I can tell you that's like the make or break for everybody I've ever coached. It's like, what is that reaction to like setting a goal and coming up short? Like you're allowed to have your little temper tantrum. I do it. You do it. But it's like
I definitely don't do it.
Yeah, we do it big time. We are complete. God bless Nina and Kirsten. They're just complete assholes for like an hour. And you're like, well, I hate this feeling. I will figure out what it is that I did wrong that made this the result, and I'm going to put that energy towards making that not the result again. Like it's just like that makes sense to me, right? Yeah. And it's like I'm not so arrogant to say I did everything I could. No, I didn't. Like even now I can find things I could have done smarter or harder, right? And it's like clients that are like, I did everything I could for that PR. I'm like, I don't believe you. And I'm going to have a hard time, like, we're going to have a hard time breaking this down if you're coming at it from that angle. But people are like, yeah, Sam, I'm going to shoot straight with you. I kind of backed off my assistants for the last 4 weeks. Or I'm going to shoot straight with you. I haven't been eating right. I'm like, awesome. There's stuff on my end that I want to change, and there's stuff on your end. And if we both bring a redoubled effort next block, we're going to hit this shit. You're going to get it. Like, this was a well-selected goal, presumably. Yeah. Sometimes you just get people who are like, hit their first 400, and they're like, 500 soon, and then they miss. And it's like, well, that wasn't a problem necessarily with your programming, and that wasn't necessarily a problem with your effort. That was just not understanding what it takes to do that and how far you are away. Like, you were never going to get that. Yeah. You know, like, that was... maybe the lesson learned there is that your goal selection sucked and that you should put a little bit more respect on like how
that is always the
last 100 pounds is easier than the next 100 pounds. It's going to take a fucking while.
It's always a bummer one to see people at the gym who I do. I'm like, you are trying pretty hard. Your goal selection is just so bad that I'm like, you're throttling both your motivation and your like progression. Yeah. When you're like coming in, you're like, I'm going to hit 495. Your current max is like 455, and then you miss, and you're like, "This is stupid."
And you're demotivated. You're like, "I fucking hate powerlifting."
Like, you're ready for 475.
I hate powerlifting. And it's like, dude, you had a 20-pound PR, and they're like, "It's not good enough."
And because it's like, I can understand them a little bit more because it's like you did work very hard. You just didn't work 40-pound PR in 6 weeks hard. Because that's like,
and that gets into like a kind of mechanic where it's like you got to be jazzed on 5-pound PRs. Yeah, you got to be ultra jazzed on 10s, right? Like just like. Maybe it's not the highest. It's not as big of a high as the 50-pound PR, but that's not really how that works down the line. You need to also find that like the 5s and the 10s, the rep PRs, to be motivating enough to kind of keep you coming back and set those like incremental goals. But it's like people, I think, the idea of saying, well, your squat plus 10 is not alluring enough to make them really feel motivated to train as hard as they need to train. Mm-hmm. So that's why they have to pick that 495. Yeah. Because 465 wasn't motivating enough. Yeah. So on one hand, like, yeah, they did get better because they picked that lofty goal. Mm-hmm. And like you hear people talking like motivational videos, like set your goals big. And it's like, kind of.
Yo, set your goals big and your milestones reasonable.
yeah, exactly. Like milestone it.
You can grand aspiration to squat 1,000 one day. You've just got to be like, but next block,
milestone it out, please.
465.
Yeah. And it's like that like mechanic of like, how do you react to a miss, right? Do you get bitter? Do you claim you worked as hard as you did? Or do you take an objective look and you're like, fuck, I've been going to bed too late. That's a small thing, but I know it's everybody strong has told me my whole life it's an important thing. Yeah. I probably might have got it if I was better about that. But I was doing so good in training, I thought I could get away with it. You've done this, I've done this. We're freaking 11 years in, like, and it's like very difficult to get PRs nowadays, right? And we're still chipping away because we've got like a good framework. We know it's a lot of work, but we know what the work is for the next 10-pound PR, right? Yep. And still, we like slack a little bit. Like you think you can get away with a little bit too much because it's working until it's not.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm getting away with going to bed a little bit too late. I'm like missing a meal here and there, or whatever it is. It's like, fuck, nope,
Didn't work.
It stops working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's always an interesting one. Like, I love that so much when I get a message from a guy. Like, after we had a dud block, like, sometimes I'll be like, the program sucks. And it's like, yeah, there's probably things I need to adjust the next block, right? Like, he who just bangs his head against the wall, like, what's the quote?
Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity.
Yeah, that's the one, right? It's like, okay, I'm not going to run you the same block. Of course I'm going to make adjustments. But realistically, the ball is in both of our court most of the time. I've had a couple of guys where I'm like, I think I misread how your fatigue curve looked bad enough. I want you to do the same thing again. That was my fault. Like, I will tell a guy, I'm like, I really think this is a pure programming.
Yeah.
Don't change anything. But realistically, most of the time, ball's in both of our court. You know, every now and then, thankfully, my current roster of guys are great, right? Very rare. I don't think anybody on my current roster is in that situation where I'm like, no, the program's fine, dude. Like, you got to just do your variables a little bit better. Yeah, train a little bit harder. Usually ball's in both of our court, you know? And it's like, I love getting a message the next day, just being like, I'm going to shoot straight with you. I was skipping assistance movements. I don't like that result. I really didn't like that feeling. Yeah. I'm going to stop. And I'm like, that's sick. That's as simple as, hell yeah.
I think there's like some sports psychology thing of like more people who are successful like winning more than they like losing, or hate losing more than they like winning, or I don't know which one.
It's equal, as far as I know.
Wow! I just like missing a lot more than I.
Enjoy winning. Yeah, same.
I enjoy. I'm
so scared of failing.
I enjoy the process of lifting weights a lot. I really hate missing. And I kind of like.
I know. I'm motivated by pure fear of I hate missing so much.
I like the process, and I like progression enough that like it motivates me to do it every day. But it's so much like whenever I hit a PR, I'm like, oh dang, that's awesome for like 6 hours. I'm like jazzed up. I'm more confident than I usually am. I feel pretty good about myself. Yeah. And then it like slowly fades pretty quick. If I miss, I will think about it every day for months.
Yeah, it doesn't make from a pure positive. It doesn't make sense for us because it's like we have, like you said, like 6 to 12 hours. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm the man. But it's not even that. It's not even that high.
Dude, I'm the fucking man.
It's just like slightly more confident.
Dude, I'm walking into the grocery store. I'm puffing out my chest.
I've got a little bit more fucking oomph in my walk at Winco for like 12 hours.
And the next day I'm like, all right.
Realistically, if I wasn't like deriving all of my self-confidence from this, maybe I should feel that way most of the time. Yeah. But at least I get to 12 hours after that PR and it's gone, right? But it's like how much I fucking hate like setting a realistic goal and like it didn't happen this block. That's way more motivating. But I also, like you said, I think that if that's your only thing is that hatred for failure, you're probably cooked. Yeah. I like training a lot. I like training hard. I like the lifestyle. You know, like I saw someone the other day who's a bodybuilder, but we eat very much like bodybuilders, as fat as we are. People don't believe that, which is so funny. They're like, no, you guys must be just eating fucking pizza all the time. It's like, no, I don't know if you know this. You can eat enough meat and rice to get fat. Like, it can be done. It takes some doing.
I love when I get a message just like me and you, buddy. And then, like we're both eating only McDonald's. It's like, I do eat McDonald's probably once a week.
Yep.
And I'm definitely a fat dude. I'm eating almost exclusively beef, rice, and broccoli. I wish I was living the life that you are.
And then like a fruit medley with some yogurt as your dessert. Yeah, that's like it's just a lot of it, right? And it's like I think that's it. You can keep a little healthier while overweight by doing so, which is like why we do it, you know.
I guess I'm back up to 340, boys.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I've beefed back up.
I'm a little worried about my overhead press.
Oh, the 405?
Well, it's gonna happen sooner or later.
Do you think you rolled out the peak too early?
Yeah, I think.
Is that
I'm not
just
ready.
because of the 350?
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's like okay, first single feel heavy. That's kind of like yes. That's if you train the way we train, first single is going to feel heavy.
Yep.
You're not acclimated to those weights. You don't get those neural adaptations. It's almost like second and third singles start feeling easier at heavier weights than the first one. Yeah. First one always feels kind of yucky.
Oh my god, on squat especially. Every time I've taken it, I'm like I'll unrack it. I'm like, ooh, I'm not hitting 800 this block.
But it looks all right. It just feels like shit.
Yeah.
That 355 didn't even look that good. So I'm like, maybe back to base building.
You know what I do? I do one more.
You think so?
If I think there is a decent-ish chance.
I know, but then I'm sick. That's tomorrow.
Doesn't matter.
You think so? Just try it.
Yeah, just muster it up. If it goes like shit, don't post it, hide it, and then just be like, we're going back to base building, boys.
Yeah. Honestly, if that 360 is like hard, I'll probably just not include that in tomorrow's video and be like, "Oh, what's up, guys? We're doing a hypertrophy workout today," and just do the back off, film and do the back off. Yeah, okay. I was like, fuck. I don't think I'm quite. My base is not quite wide enough yet. Like, I think I could take that 355, and I think I could peak it to about 390. Sounds right in my head, but that's a heavy 15-pound difference.
Yeah.
And I hate having to like, it's just tough to like push my body weight up high and be that tired all the time. Just to then have to reset and then revamp. It takes like a lot. So I'd rather just kind of maybe build a bit. I'm gonna do what you said. I trust you. I'm gonna feel it out tomorrow.
Yeah, I think like,
if I do like a 330 single as my last warm up, 335, and that feels like shit, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, back to base
fuck
building.
it, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I've got a great base building program that has been working.
Yeah.
And so it's just spending time in that zone. Squats and deadlifts for both you and I are going fucking gnarly well now that we're on this lower frequency program. So you're like
Saturday.
yeah, it's just like a more lower frequency. You're potentiating bigger touches. We're getting the bigger touches. Like, we're not actually neither Max nor I have gotten stronger from this new program yet. We're just expressing better with the bigger rests in between them. Yeah. But it feels good every Saturday. Just like big ass rep PR squat or dead, like big set on the RDL or the belt squat. It feels good. And then also just having that extra energy to dedicate to the tier 3 stuff. Because I think you and I have been getting away with the higher frequency despite the heavy absolute weights by kind of like racking sets early, like a little bit more sub-max. Like what you see a lot in tested powerlifting. Like, guys are doing these higher frequencies even though they're really strong, but they're training with a lot of reps in reserve to allow the higher frequencies. Like, you look at the Taylor Atwood.
Yeah.
That guy's not going like to an 8.
Yeah.
To allow him these higher frequencies. But then even still, like, you go like big squatting, big belt squatting, how much energy have you for your tier 3s? Not as much as I would like, considering that is like kind of your pseudo, or the old Ed Cohn, that's your suit of armor, right? What's our next question? I've been yapping for way too long. I feel like that was decent, though. I feel like maybe not the most mainstream appeal large lads bit there in terms of what's the best cereal. I don't know. I think that's interesting shit.
I feel like I've been getting slightly negative about large lads. I feel like I think I've been doing a bad job. What are some of the like coolest historic lifts that come to mind? They could be like recent if you think they're like historic levels. Just like what are some lifts that you think don't get enough credit or like especially motivate you?
It gets plenty of credit, but the Eddie Hall 500 kilos, just like the amount that was an increase, is pretty fucking legendary.
Yeah.
People always forget.
We found Thor's lift was fake after he missed that 501.
Yeah. Max and I have seen a bunch of edits are like, Halfdor finally tries to do it in a real comp, and look, he failed. It was fake, or it was just because it was his home gym, and it's like, no, suits. And like people in the comments are like, actually, suits don't do anything. You think Eddie Hall only lifted 1,000
If you think that the suit would make this much of a difference, he could barely break it off the ground.
Fucking Christ, dude. Like the number, it's like, someone said, you can get 30 to 40 kilos out of a suit. And someone's like, 30, 40? The Dell suit barely does anything. Mitch Hooper's getting more than that. Dude, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Stoltman did his max is like 400 kilos for one raw, and he did it for 5 with the fucking suit. Some guys don't get as much out of the suit. Sure, 100%, especially guys that don't train in it very much. The guys that specialize in the suit can adjust their technique, and yes, some guys are getting fucking like 50 kilos out of it, dude. Like, suits don't do anything is the fucking bullshit ass propaganda.
I saw it was like, Thor attempting 5-0, 1 or 2 or whatever it was, with like clown music, and then like Eddie with fucking Valhalla music crushing 500. And it did make me laugh. I saw a bunch of Eddie, you've got to get off the burner account, mate, comments. And then
also, big ups. He's probably commissioning those. That seems like something he would unironically do. Also, big ups to Sterling. We've commissioned my friend Sterling from high school for these intros. I'm not going to take credit. These are my friend. He actually knows how to use a computer, not me. But big ups to Sterling. That's like we should be able to be way more consistent with these. Just on top of work, it was really hard for me to find the time to make the intros.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't want to lose like the spirit of the intros. It's like pretty critical to the series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I was like, it would have to be someone I know, and I would know they would kind of get it, like the what we do with them, right? And I was like, wait a minute. One of my best buds from high school, his job is he's a videographer. And so I texted him, I was like, yo, how busy is your work right now? And he's like, unfortunately, not fucking busy right now. And I was like, my boy, I'm going to commission you.
I've got a job opportunity for $8.
Yeah, so that's sick. Historical lifts. Funny that, like, if you talk about, like, the first 1,000 squat, technically, right, it was like Lee Moran did it first in single ply. And everybody forgot about that guy.
Yep.
Had a fucking swastika on his arm, so maybe contributed to the being forgotten. And then Big Wilk.
That's so
Big
funny.
Wilk was actually the first. It was high. It wasn't a great lift, and that's part of why it was forgotten. But Big Wilk did it raw in wraps. Who's a Josh Bryant guy, known as a monster bencher, like one of the many Josh Bryant huge bench guys.
Yeah.
But it's like this guy also has the first 1,000 in wraps. And then you have Ray doing it in sleeves, right? And it's like those were the kind of the 3 first 1Ks.
You know what the fourth one's gonna be? Bare knee.
Bare knee. No one's working on it, man.
Yeah, no one.
You know who could do it, and I think would have an interest in it?
Huh.
I think Hagen could do it. Like if he continues, like he leans his training, like he leans his peace and love. He leans his training economy pretty hard into his squat.
Yeah,
he's a great squatter. He's in the right weight class. He does have interest in low equipment lifts, right? Like he thinks that's a good.
He did have 900 bare knee, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
880?
I think it was 400 keys. So whatever it was.
Yeah,
like monster
weird.
squatter. And it's like, okay, if he stays focused on that, like Jesus is very focused on like properly powerlifting within the IPF, right? So it's like, okay, he could do it, of course, but he doesn't have any interest. Don't think Ray has any interest in that.
What a fucking
back in the
feat that
day,
would be.
quads like Rob got up to like 930, you know, and I think he's kind of done. It'd be a fucking sick lift, man. The bare knee 1K, someone's got to do it.
We've been talking about the 1K stiff bar. Speaking of underrated historic lifts, Sir Dave Richardson's 960
on a stiff bar. It's arguably
the most impressive deadlift ever.
Yeah, you could make an argument for it.
I think you can make a strong argument for it. And also, it's a lift that not that many people know about.
I will say if Rondell hits his 930 in a
938,
meet, that's obviously more impressive due to testing status.
Yeah.
But as far as done in comp, 960 stiff bar, like fuck, man, like.
And also then shattered his arm.
I know, just arm
rough
broke.
video. Don't watch that one.
Yeah, his humerus just snapped. It surpasses Tom Martin tearing his tricep squatting for the weirdest injury. Because it's like, yeah, there's injuries. Yeah, there's kind of like a bad luck factor. But usually it makes like there's a tissue tolerance. There's a number that requires like a tissue to break. Somehow that number was exceeded. It's like you kind of see how it happens. Untested guys, you see these big water cuts and they're dehydrated, so you get these freak injuries. They're lifting big weights that maybe they wouldn't be able to lift otherwise, that they haven't like trained their way to, so their tendons haven't adapted. They're lifting heavy with bad blood work, which I think is a very underrated. People are like, oh, the untested guys just tear their shit off because they're lifting weight that they got so strong so fast. It's like, not always. Sometimes they've been that strength for a long time. They should have had the time to make the requisite tendon adaptations, and they tear it anyway.
Yeah.
Part of that is, I think, when you lift really heavy and you're unhealthy, which is like a little bit more uncommon on the tested side. I think the blood work of tested guys looks a lot better. Going and lifting like 1,000 pounds where your blood looks like sludge, things tend to pop. And also there's like, I've seen some like speculative, like mechanistic stuff about why PEDs might actually impair tendon adaptation. So like they might actively be getting in the way. Cause it's like, this guy's been fucking benching 500 forever. How the fuck did it break his arm? It's not that he got like, it's not some young guy got on steroids, got really strong really fast and clearly didn't have enough time. That's not what it is. My only guess, right? I'm not a physical therapist, but he's a very low bar squatter. He takes his arm, these guys doesn't have a very wide grip. You can see a lot of weight sits in his hand. I'm guessing there's a lot of rotational stress through his humerus there.
Yeah.
So there's like micro fractures or micro trauma from doing those heavy low bars.
Yeah.
So it was kind of pre-damaged. And then the bench was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Like Conor McGregor talked about that when he snapped his shin. He was dealing with like a lot of micro fractures in his shin. And then that kick was just like, it gave. way, but it was pre-damaged. That's the only understanding. Like, people are going to be worried now. Your arm's not going to snap while benching. There's a reason everybody who's been powerlifting even for like 15 years that I've been talking to is like, what the fuck was that?
That was one of
I've
the
never
only injury
heard of
videos that like a little bit rattled me because it wasn't like, oh, I think this is gonna happen to me now. Because like I can recognize that as like one of the most freak accidents I've ever heard of. But it was also like I didn't even know that could happen.
No.
That someone like really strong, well trained, large, beefy.
Yeah,
dude,
if you look at like arm breaks benching, right, you get like very small people,
Very small women on
like
that, right?
clearly have like bad bone density.
Yeah.
Of course, Sir Dave has great bone density. You get like elbow hyperextensions from people who are hypermobile, and you get like maybe an equipped guy will be lifting like such a super maximal weight
Yeah.
that the bone gives out. I've never fucking seen a big strong guy
At 90%,
raw
87% or whatever.
lifting raw. So that's why I'm like, man, maybe that is just like some combination of the health being a little bit poor in his prep for that ABS meet paired with that pre-damage. That's my only, like, I don't know. This whole, like, some guys I think are just like lifting, like injury can be completely random. And I don't believe that. It's like, there's times where it's like it was 50-50 and it just happened to like, sure, but there's a reason you were in that position, right? At least that's what I choose to believe.
Yep.
Is that through variable management, we can like meaningfully impact this. So it's not truly random. Like, were you dehydrated? In which case it wasn't completely random.
I kind of have to tell myself anytime I've tweaked something, I'm like, this was my fault. Obviously, like, I'm a human being, so there are going to be times that I make training mistakes. So it's not like not like injuries are inevitable, but like I have to think about all injuries as preventable. Because like every time I've tweaked something, I'm usually like I can understand, like I can look at like that felt weird, my prep was bad, that was my fault. And I usually have to tell myself that because it's way more comforting to have like an understanding of like this was my fault rather than like sometimes
I can change it
stuff
next
just like
time.
tweaks.
Yeah.
And that's like way more like comforting for me as like an athlete to be able to be like, I just need to prepare better.
And in
It's
practical
just tricking
application-
myself to keep preparing better.
Well, and in practical application, it shakes out to be a good effect, right? And you can control it a bit, right? Like this, it's not you can't completely avoid them. Like just because someone got hurt doesn't mean they were an idiot,
Yeah.
right? Like I see some people take it too far,
Yeah, for
where
sure.
they're just like it's their fault, right? And it's like I understand why we all kind of go with that belief because it's a lot more functional,
Yeah.
and it gives us the onus in our court to improve and be ready. But like, yeah, there are guys. It's like he didn't do anything wrong. He's being asked to push the limits of the human body, and he's gonna have to toe that line, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, of course, there's things we can do to manipulate that, and like, does that scale to just like some dude who's like 3 years into lifting natty at a YMCA? No, you shouldn't be scared. Your bicep isn't gonna rip off. Like, that's a real shame that you feel like it's a prevalent thing, and they're making training decisions so that your quad doesn't tear, and it's like. You don't have to do that.
Yeah, you'd have a hard time trying to.
As far as historic lifts, have you seen that video that's like the history of the deadlift world record?
Yeah.
On that like track channel?
Yeah.
It's really, really good. Wish there was more stuff like that.
Like 21-year-old
The
pulling
guy who
900.
pushed it from like 850 all the way to like 890, I don't even remember his name. And I'm like, he gets no credit for being like a pioneer of the deadlift world record.
He was young as shit.
I know
too,
he's
right?
young as fuck, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot him already. Like, it's so funny that he's like my underrated guy, and I also forget his name.
Also, how far Benny with Bolton, like just like back and forth they pushed the deadlift
Yeah.
record. That was correct. Like just like no one else touched it. No one else was close for literally 10 years.
Yeah. Also, what's his name? Mike McDonald.
Yep.
Full power bench records. Insane. Hold up insanely well.
I got a question for
Inventor of the McDonald bar.
you. Ranking these, I feel like lifts that are somewhat inevitable, but also would be greatly historic, right?
Yes.
Most to least impressive. 1,100 pound sleeve squat.
Yep.
800 bench. 1,000 on the stiffy.
Man, that's a good question. So my perception of the 500 key squat is going to be heavily informed whether it's Generation 2 or Generation 3 knee sleeves. Like, this is my hill to die on. I've talked about it on the YouTube channel. They're meaningfully fucking different.
SPD making them look the exact same.
SPD
That's
making it,
fucked
yeah.
up.
Like this, I really like Matt Venna, and he's like, sleeve copers, nobody's getting that much out of them. Like people like I personally know multiple guys that are getting a fuck ton of weight out of them.
Yeah.
I know guys who have to track their PRs completely differently, and their PRs are big gaps apart. And I think Matt might even say like, oh,
Also,
this is
big gaps between regular sleeves and then the new sleeves.
know.
Like
And-
it's like a difference between those two numbers. Like,
I know, and it's like, you know, like I think Carlos Reyes has changed his opinion because I think Carlos Reyes initially was like, it does make that big of a difference, and it's like, well, you're also a very quad dominant athlete. Like your squat is limited by your torso integrity, not
Yeah.
your knee. Like extra knee extensor doesn't do anything for you. Of course, you don't get much out of them. You also don't get much of reps.
Yeah.
But there are guys who are very strong in the hips and very strong in their torso, that their knees are the limiting factor. So then supplemental knee strength blows up their squat.
Yeah.
Right. And so then they're like, I get 110 pounds out of my reps. Right.
I remember John Hack in like one of the ads for Iron Rebel was like, yeah, they're basically like knee wraps that you pull up your leg, and I was like, what are we doing? Like, if obviously that's hyperbolic for advertising because
Yeah.
there's some people getting weight out of knee wraps, but like what? Like
I remember that was something that always confused me. People were like, "Oh yeah, the best, to get the most out of your reps, shove your knees way forward and be upright because that's how you bend your knee more to get more bend in the knee wrap."
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that doesn't shake out with what I see, which is the guys that benefit the most from wraps are flats, wide stance, low bar guys.
Guys with really weak quads who having an artificial quad allows them to lift way more.
Yes.
Yeah. So 1,100, 800, 1,000.
Oh man. I think there's a decent argument of like the 800 being the most impressive because of how far away second best is.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, Julius Maddox is right there. Second best is 50 pounds below that.
Yeah.
There have been more people to compete in bench press than deadlift and squats.
Yeah.
Because it's the only common event to do bench only. So you've got the biggest gene pool and you got the biggest gap. And also an 800 bench doesn't make any fucking sense. So I'll probably go 800 bench as number one.
Yeah. It's so hard because I'm like, all three of these are like incomprehensible feats of strength.
Yeah. It's funny because I think they shake out to be like kind of similar. Like I think the 800 stands above the other two.
Yeah.
I think it's fuck, man. I think you kind of have to go bench, deadlift, squat
Yeah,
based on like proximity to result. How many people have tried?
Yeah, because bench is the most contested lift by far.
Deadlift is artificially uncontested because all the untested guys have been on the deadlift bar.
Yeah.
And historically haven't been on the stiff bar, so we don't know what the result could have been.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if Jamal had been chugging away at a stiff bar pull this whole time, right? I don't know where he would be at, but he would be somewhere on that spectrum and also have another result kind of up there with Sir Dave towards that 1,000 mark.
Yeah. I guess to me, the 1,000 stiffy, I assume it'll be done within the next 5 years.
Now, as long as the ABS stays popular with good lifters,
Yeah.
and Sir Dave needs
dude,
who
knows?
the fuck? Who's gonna do it? Sir Dave needs to fucking fix his arm and come back.
Yeah, so his arm's getting fixed.
Okay, Sir Dave's gonna come back and do it within 5.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if not Sir Dave, who's gonna fucking do it?
That's a really good. I was just thinking about that. I was like, oh, he did just snap
You
his
know,
arm.
Rondell goes untested. There you go.
Yeah.
But like, fuck, man, the guy who you and I have been saying, that's the fucking guy.
That's the guy to get-
God damn it, that he was gonna be the guy, and you and I called it. It was gonna be this big thing
Yeah.
of like, hey guys, this is not getting enough credit. This is better than the 500 kilos.
Yeah.
This is the lift right here, and he fucking broke his arm.
And like because like I just like I think about that and I'm like that's insane. And god damn it, the number of conventional 1,000 pound deadlifts that are fully legitimate in competition
Is zero. Technically,
So,
yes.
because Betty's
Let's
plates
explain.
were a little bit
Fully
weird.
legitimate is kind of a dickhead way to say it because Bolton was competing in single ply at the time or multiply at the time. That was what everybody was doing.
I mean, at the same time,
It's not kilos. Fuck, his pull is not kilos either.
yeah,
Yeah, so no one has done a calibrated plate bare hand 1K yet.
which means if Sir Dave hypothetically heals his shattered arm, comes back and pulls 1,000 on a stiff bar as the first conventional on calibrated plates, that would be such a wild. Like obviously, objectively, I think Julius hitting 800 is.
And you could make a really interesting. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
You could make a really interesting argument. No one has done it in powerlifting. Period.
Yeah.
I think Grigsby can and will do it on a tech. He'll break the 1K barrier on a Texas.
Yep.
But I don't believe he has yet. I believe he's gone north of 1K on the Kabuki exclusively thus far in meets. I could be wrong. And I believe Jamal's was also on a Kabuki. I don't view that as legitimate personally because it was a complete change in what had been the unified standard for nearly 2 decades.
A longer, easier bar.
Yeah, that's crazy. So if we say, I don't know, I could be wrong. Someone correct me if Jamal or Grigsby has done a 1K on a Texas in competition.
Yeah.
But if we throw out Kabuki pulls, we throw out non-standard diameter kilo pulls, i.e. Benny's and also Bolton's, that it hasn't been done to like what we imagine to be the unified standard of untested lifting for the last while, which is calibrated plates, Texas Delapar.
Yeah.
That's what we've been doing. And everybody that's gone above that has deviated from that formula to do so. Could Benny have done it? More than likely.
Yeah.
Could Bolton have done it at his strongest? Because didn't he do like 970, 980 raw or some shit?
Yeah.
And Benny's done the 970 on kilos. Could those guys have done it? Maybe. Yeah. If that's what if someone said, hey, guys, we're not going to give you like 2000s powerlifting money. We have the fucking rogue fucking 6-figure bounty.
Yeah.
They would have done it.
Yeah.
Could Jamal have done it? Could Grigsby have done it like 1K on it? Yes.
That's
but
gonna
it hasn't been done.
Yeah.
Which I feel like nitpicky because it's like those are huge lifts that guys have trained an unbelievable amount for. And like, it doesn't count. Like, what the fuck have you done?
It just feels insane that there's been like whatever, like 5 or 6 people over 1,000, and there's
It's
not
4.
been.
Who else?
No,
I don't.
Well, I quickly pull up Odin powerlifting. In my mind, I'm going deadlift, bench. Obviously, I can understand that like actually the bench is more impressive. To me personally, that deadlift's gonna be way cooler.
Awesome. It's gonna be very cool.
The squat I feel like is almost the fact that there's 2 people that I'm like they're kind of close.
Yeah. Imagine Ray gets her done.
I will shed tears of joy.
I will cry.
I straight up might actually like cry.
Yes,
If
100%. If Ray, like late career comeback, gets his 500 kilos done, like Max and I have talked. Obviously, we're speculating about people far better than us. Bear that in mind. Give us some grace if you guys want to hear the interesting discussion. But like Ray has pushed his body weight upward like 40 pounds from what was his most competitive body weight. And it's really made his deadlift back issues, I believe, worse because his positions aren't what they used to be. But it's clearly like he's able to keep his squat up in that thousands range. Like he's kind of min-maxing his way to like take a stab at the 500 kilos at this point with the body weight. And it's like, fuck, I would love to see that pay off. Like it's a strategy, you know? Like it's interesting to see like guys who are kind of at this high level, they can't rapidly change the level they're at. They can make interesting calls. Like, do I min-max for a single lift record? Mm-hmm. Do I make a weight cut to a weight class and see if I can hold, how much strength I can hold on to, right? Like a lot of that in weightlifting, right? Where like weight classes changed. Do I go big and see if I can bulk up and get adequately stronger, or do I come down? Like, kind of interesting. Like, okay, I'm at this level of strength now. What do I do with it?
Yeah, you were right. It's 4. I thought Christoph Wieserbecki had gotten it done at one point. Yeah, like 987. Yeah, so those are yeah. And then, God, that squat's gonna be crazy. Also, God, it's so funny to be like any of these are less impressive than anything else.
Yes,
like,
well, that's what I was saying. Is like I feel like this is like crazy to be like, oh, this was less than fucking what? Yeah. It's more than everyone ever.
Yeah. We'll end with a slightly helpful one. How do you prep for a big lift?
Like, like you and I talk about, like, I'm prepping for this. So this is something I've talked with, like, Billy about, someone I help out in person, where it's like, when you're new, prepping just means don't be an asshole and just eat something beforehand, even if it's suboptimal, right? Like, you had a more busy day at work, you're new to lifting, you don't need to be locked in. Stop by the gas station and get a Cliff Bar. You know, this is one that I feel like I noticed weirdly often people are not doing, drinking their water. Yes, that's what I was saying. So that's
what
like
a negligible thing that like I've just been doing this for so long.
I've got great lifters that don't do that. Like I've got guys like Coach that I'm like, dude, fucking drink your water.
Chug 2 water bottles 45 minutes before your session, and you will be way more likely to succeed.
Have a standardized amount before you go to the gym. You're like, okay, I've got like my Hydro Flask. I need to go through it twice. I've got water bottles. I need to go through 4 of these before I go to the gym. Like, just standardize it, lock it in, and you'll have way less variance in your performance. But I was like, talking to Billy, I was like, you got a big session. All that means initially is just eat beforehand. Don't come in unate, right?
Yeah.
Don't drink some water. Don't come in like wildly dehydrated.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a little bit better, and you're like, man, there's more riding on this session. It's not just every week that I get to go for like big sets.
Yep.
Eat a good breakfast and a good lunch, and then lift. However your schedule shakes out, like whatever that looks like. If you lift in the evening, if you lift in the morning, maybe that means eat a good dinner the night before if you're a morning guy, and then good breakfast. You have your hydration, and then you get a little bit better, and you need to prep a little bit more thoroughly. That just means an early bedtime and maybe like some stretching. That's optional, but that's like down the line. Yeah, it's like all these things add up to make it predictable when you're going to have a good day. Mm-hmm. I stretched out the night before. I went to bed early. I followed my nutrition. Also, by the way, I whooped Max's ass in Pokemon. We
You guys want a full breakdown, huh?
We both downloaded Sword and Shield on our Switches. Max has logged like twice as much time as me. I whooped his ass easily.
Let's clarify that. Sam used to be a casual competitive Pokemon player in his free time, and I've not played a Pokemon game since I was a child.
I was no good at it, but I whooped your ass with way worse. Dude, I'm the man. That prep builds out. That prep builds out, right? And it's like, it's just like so, it's music in my ears when I got a guy who's like young and into lifting. He's like, I'm preparing. I'm like, you're the fucking man. You're going to get that lift, right? Maybe it's how long that prep is kind of proportionate to how advanced you are, right? Like,
me and you are prepping for 4 or 5 days hard.
the 4 or 5 days is like no fudges in the food, no fudges in the sleep for like 4 or 5 days to make sure the good day falls on this day.
Yeah.
But it can be really small things right beforehand of just like get your head in the right space. Don't just come in and hope you find it. Like have a video you like to watch out in your car before you walk in or while you do your cardio. Hydrate and eat, right? Like prepping and then like the duration of the preparation for the session is kind of proportionate to how long you've been training is what it would be.
I think a note that I've like people, I get messaged for advice occasionally as the cerebral one, and something that I feel like people,
You're very thorough with your responses.
It's so funny. I've had 2 or 3 people message me that like, wow, you seem way smarter when you message me advice instead of on large lads. And I was like, what?
Yeah, you dumb fuck.
One, why are you asking me for advice? You thought I was stupid.
That is a good point, actually. I'd be like, this guy seems kind of dumb. I'll ask him.
Yeah, like, you seem kind of dumb in large lads, but man, you actually know a lot about training. And I was like, why did you message me if you think I was dumb? And 2, why did you tell me that? I'm less likely to give you advice now.
Leave it alone. Like, don't tell me that, at least.
Yeah, nowadays, just like in your mind, like, oh, Max isn't as stupid as I thought, huh?
Go ahead.
But I feel like something that people like, because I'm so deep into lifting, something that I assume a lot more of you guys run into is inconsistent sessions, and that's something that like, oh, I was 20 or 30 pounds weaker, and that is kind of the great benefit of preparation. Is it's not going to like magically make you stronger. You're just good days are going to be more often. Like you're going to be performing at the level of your good day most days. Like it's
or
not,
a decent day. Like you're at least not going to have the bad days as often.
Yeah.
And if you have a bad day, you saw it coming.
Like back when I was inconsistent, it's not that I was, or like when I was more inconsistent, it's like I had these like up and down variables, and I was always like, oh, it's so cool that when I come in and like I had this like monumentally perfect day, and has happened less and less. And it's not that like, oh, I don't have these like awesome spikes of strength. It's just that I'm performing at so much more of a high consistent level. Where like back when it's like, oh, I had a day that was 50 pounds stronger. I just consistently at the level of strength that I actually am.
It's not.
And I'm not. Like
you weren't 50
dips,
pounds stronger.
Exactly.
You weren't 50 pounds stronger that day. You were 50 pounds weaker most days.
Yeah, because I was dehydrated. I only ate Taco Bell the last 2 days.
Yeah, just like making those things like a lifestyle thing that doesn't really draw on your like finite mental resources. Where it's just like I just kind of autopilot drink water. It doesn't take discipline. I kind of autopilot through most of my meals. Most of the time, it doesn't take discipline. And it's like awesome. Now we're just living in a state of more predictable good lifting. And it's like, yeah, I think, you say like good programming and good outside the gym variables just makes things more predictable. And that's what I mean is like everybody's got jobs that they can't control. We've got a house, the house flooded. Like, yeah, my training after that was worse. Yeah. I got no sleep that night because I was like trying to make sure our house didn't fucking flood. But I saw it coming. There's not really as many random, wow, I'm weak today. Or like my program has me accumulate to a lot of fatigue right now. Yeah. I might be a little weaker today. Yeah. If you see it coming, rather than it being this mysterious
like one off, I'm way weak.
It's not my day. Well, why isn't it your day? You should it's like kind of the injury thing. It's like, yes, there is a probability thing because like Carlos Reyes always says fatigue is a liar because like he's got some days, full-time firefighter and also elite 242 powerlifter, where he shouldn't have a good day and he does anyway. Yeah. He's like, my fucking whoop told me I'd be weak. My sleep told me I'd be weak. I just worked a monster shift. Yeah. I'm fine. It's like sometimes don't write the session off before you go in. Like allow yourself the opportunity to be pleasantly surprised. So there's still that like little bit of element of randomness, but at the same time, it's like come on, man. Like you got hurt for a reason. Like the number of guys who are like, I didn't drink water and I hurt my pec and like sucks. Lifting's just the risk we take. Drink some fucking water.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
I feel like that was decent.
It got better, which is, I guess, the worst way, but...